Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our weekly Bhagavad Gita class. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadate Shvapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscham Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscham Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namah Panchatatmatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priyam Nilachala Nivashaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadravhyam Jagannathaya Te Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we were discussing the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and we are in the last section of the fourth chapter. So before the fourth chapter, we have completed to chapter 3. So in the first chapter, we have seen Arjuna's different arguments for not fighting. Arjuna was behaving like an ordinary soul. Although Arjuna is an eternal associate of the Supreme Lord, he was behaving like a normal materialistic person, just like us. And he had no clarity. He was dharma sammuda cheta. He did not know the principles of religion. He was confused, and therefore he was asking Krishna that please accept me as your disciple and instruct me. So Arjuna initially gave these arguments, and the Lord refuted the arguments. And to refute these arguments, the Lord has given different kinds of yogic concepts like Sankhya Yoga, analysis of body and soul. The main theme is we are not this body, we are soul. And then Lord has also given Sakam Karma, Niskam Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, that whatever we perform, whatever activities we do, we should not be attached to the fruits, but we have to offer that to the Supreme Lord. We have to do every activity as an offering to the Supreme Lord. So that is called Niskam Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. So, and also in the third chapter, Krishna has elaborated this concept of Karma Yoga. Arjuna is having this doubt whether to do action or renunciation, whether I should fight or I should not fight. So Krishna has analyzed different scenarios, and the conclusion is that Arjuna should fight. Krishna has analyzed that Arjuna, if you are qualified for Jnana Yoga, then also you should not perform Jnana Yoga, you should do Karma Yoga just to instruct people in general. If you are not qualified for Jnana Yoga, obviously you should not do it, because otherwise you will be categorized as Mithyachari, you will be a pretender or cheater. So by analyzing different cases, Krishna suggested that Arjuna should perform Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means do your karma, but offer that to the Supreme Lord. Yoga means link. Link your karma with the Supreme Lord, then it becomes Karma Yoga. And this is very similar to Bhakti Yoga. The perfection of Karma Yoga is called Bhakti. So by a simple example, we can understand the difference between Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Just like I perform some activity, whatever I like. I perform that, and then I offer the fruits to Krishna. Then it becomes Karma Yoga. But if in the first place I am performing that activity for the pleasure of Krishna, it becomes Bhakti Yoga. Suppose I want to eat a mango and I go to market, I purchase mango, and before eating, I offer it to the Supreme Lord and then I eat. Then it is Karma Yoga, because I wanted to eat the mango, but I'm offering it to the Supreme Lord and then accepting. But in the first place, if I do not have any desire for the mango, but I want Krishna to become happy by eating the mango, and therefore I go to the market and purchase the mango. So if the motivation for the work is Krishna, then it becomes Bhakti Yoga. But if I have some personal motivation, but I offer the fruits, then it becomes Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga, when it becomes in the perfectional stage, when it comes to the perfectional stage, it becomes Bhakti Yoga. Okay. So therefore, Lord, initially for practitioners like us, we are actually performing Karma Yoga because we are not in that level where all our activities are motivated by the pleasure of Krishna. So initially by performing Karma Yoga, we will gradually reach that level. Therefore, in the initial chapters, Lord is focusing again and again on this activity of Karma Yoga. And then later in the chapters like 7 to 12, Bhakti Yoga will be elaborated, because Karma Yoga is basically the first step for Bhakti Yoga. So that has been discussed here. And in the last part of third chapter, Krishna has also discussed about the lust, our enemy lust, which makes us to take wrong decisions. Although we know what is right, what is wrong, we cannot always perform the right activities because of lust. And how to counteract lust in different levels. In the level of the senses, we have to follow the 4 regulatory principles. No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. On the level of the mind, we have to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And on the level of the intelligence, we have to study the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita. Then lust can be controlled in all the 3 levels. Then we come to the 4th chapter. In the 4th chapter, we have seen that how in the initial few verses of the 4th chapter, Krishna has established the supremacy of the Supreme Lord over all the living entities. The activities and birth of the Supreme Lord is very different from the birth and activities of all other living entities. We take birth according to our karma, but Krishna appears or Krishna descends according to his own sweet will, and he chooses his parents, he chooses the purpose of visit, he chooses the duration of visit, everything, where he will appear, the family, what activities he will perform. The Supreme Lord chooses everything, but we are bound to accept a particular type of body according to our karma. So that is the difference between normal living entities and the Supreme Lord. Then we have also discussed about the Varnashram system, how it is very scientific. And also in the corporates, there is research and development team, management team, finance and execution team. Similarly, for maintenance of the society, we need this 4 categories of person. Then we were discussing about this karma, akarma, vikarma section. So in brief, karma means legitimate activities which are sanctioned by the scriptures. That is called karma, or good work in general. The word karma can have multiple meanings. In one context, the word karma means any activities. Karma means any activities is called karma. Karma can also mean the pious activities or activities which are sanctioned by the scriptures. Karma can also mean the law of karma, the fruity baggage. So karma can also refer to the law of karma. So different meanings can be there according to the context. Vikarma, on the other hand, means the sinful activities, the activities which are not sanctioned by the scriptures. And these are mainly 4 things: meat eating, gambling, intoxication, and illicit sex. And these are the 4 regulatory principles that devotees follow because they are vikarma or sinful activities, and they increase our sinful credit, and we have to suffer for those sinful reactions in the future. So that is called vikarma. Akarma means devotional service or any activity done for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. When we do something to satisfy Krishna, that activity does not generate any kind of karma. Not pious activity, not the pious or sinful. No credits are generated. So both the pious credits and sinful credits are bad for us. If we have sinful credits, we have to suffer. But even if we have pious credit, we have to take another birth. And because we have to take another birth, and by default, this material world is designed in such a way that just for your maintenance of the body, you have to cause violence to others. So you cannot avoid sinful activities staying in this material world. So if you have pious credits, you have to take birth again, and again you will be forced to perform sinful activities, and you have to suffer for that. So therefore, both the pious credit and sinful credits are bad, and we have to nullify both the accounts. And that can be done by akarma, or devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. In the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma also confirms this. Yastendra gopyamathavindra ahoshvakarma bandhanurupa falabhajanamatanoti karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So, in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma says that karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. When we do something for the pleasure of the Lord, that is called bhakti. And by bhakti, both our pious account and sinful accounts are deleted. So no new karma will be generated, and previous karma will be burnt. And that's where we move ahead towards the path of liberation. Till the time we have some sinful credit or pious credit, we have to take birth again and again in this material world, and we have to go through this cycle of birth, old age, disease, death. We have to suffer different difficulties and miseries of this world. Adhyatmik klesha, adhibhautik klesha, adhidaivi klesha. Miseries due to our own body and mind in the form of diseases. Miseries due to other living entities. Miseries due to the natural calamities. So these three types of miseries are called tritap klesha, adhyatmik klesha, adhibhautik klesha, and adhidaivi klesha. So taking birth is in this material world, it itself is a miserable activity. So the purpose of our life, the life is given so that we do bhajan of Krishna, we do bhakti, and we go back home, back to Godhead, so that we do not have to take another birth. Because taking birth in this material world means struggle. Every moment some problem is coming, and we have to continuously struggle. If you stop struggling, you will die. You will not be able to survive. There is cutthroat competition. Every time we have to struggle so much for living. So therefore, this material world is struggle for existence. If we want to get relief from this struggle, then we have to perform devotional service, and then the sinful account and the pious account will be cleared, and we can go back home, back to Godhead. So we have discussed till this point. Now let's continue from 4.24. Yeah. So we have discussed this verse. Brahmarpanam brahmahavir brahmagnau brahmanahutam brahmaivatena gantavyam brahmakarma samadhinam. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to the spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Yeah. So here we can see that if we are performing a spiritual activity, then everything associated with that activity becomes spiritual. Okay. So suppose this laptop is being utilized for spreading the message of Gita. So therefore, this becomes spiritual. Nothing is spiritual or material by default. It depends on the use. Just like a knife, it is in the hand of a doctor, it can save life. If it is in the hand of a criminal, it can take away life. So knife does not have any absolute connotation, good or bad. It depends on the usage. So similarly, anything depends depending on the usage will be categorized as spiritual or material. So for any yagya means any activity for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. So whenever we are doing any activity for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, the doer becomes spiritual, and the instruments which are utilized in that service, that also becomes spiritual, and the result of that activity is also spiritual, because we are pleasing the Supreme Lord, and by pleasing the Supreme Lord, our life will become auspicious, our sinful accounts will go down. So like that, everything becomes spiritual if we are engaged in the spiritual service of the spiritual Lord. Now we move to the next section. So 16 to 24, we have discussed karma, akarma, and vikarma. Okay. And then in the next section, we can see 25 to 33, different types of yajna performed by different kinds of spiritualists. Okay. And how they are trying to understand the absolute truth, and how they are trying to make spiritual progress. So different types of yajna are explained in 25 to 33, and with the same purpose. The purpose of all these yajna is to attain knowledge. Daivam eva pare yajnam yogina pariyupashate brahmagnova pare yajnam yagneva pajuhavpati. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. So in the verse number 24, it is explained a person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, for him everything becomes spiritual. So this is the highest type of yajna one can perform. Highest type of yajna, or highest activity to please the Supreme Lord. But different people have different notions, and they always cannot perform the highest activity. So in the 7th chapter, again, Krishna will elaborate. Some people, due to their material desires, they worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices. They are not worshipping the Supreme Lord directly, but they are indirectly worshipping the demigods. Okay, although that is not recommended by Krishna. Krishna says in 7th chapter Bhagavad Gita that Kamaisthaistha rita jnana prapadyante anna devata tam tam niyamam asthaya prakitta niyata ashvaya. Only persons who are afflicted by material desires and lost their intelligence, they approach the demigods, because the demigods do not have any independence to offer us benediction. When we worship the demigods, like except Krishna, whoever is there, they are called demigods. They are universal managers on behalf of Krishna, who are managing the universal affairs, like Durga Devi, Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Rudra, like that. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that they are also worshipping the Supreme Lord. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stunvanti Divvaistaver Vedai Sangha Padakrama Upanishada Gayanti Yam Shamaga Dhyana Avasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yashantam Navidu Sura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. So the demigods are also worshipping the Supreme Lord, and they do not have any independence to offer benediction. In the 7th chapter, Krishna very clearly says, Sataya Shraddhaya Yukta Tasya Radhana Mihate Lavate Cha Tata Kaman Mayaiba Bihitan Hita. When we worship the demigods and we seek any benediction, the demigods cannot offer the benediction independently. They are dependent on Krishna to offer that benediction. So basically, the benediction is coming from Krishna. We are indirectly worshipping Krishna. So why not directly worship? Therefore, intelligent people will worship Krishna directly. Worshipping Krishna directly is like offering water in the roots of a tree. There is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam which exactly says, Yatha taror moola nishechanena tripyanti tat skanda bhujopashakha pranopaharat jathindriyanam tathaiva sarvarhanam achyuteja. Jatha taror, taru means tree. Moola nishechanena, mool means the roots. Nishechanena means watering. Just like if you water the roots of a tree, all the branches, twigs, leaves, everyone gets that water. Everyone gets that. So similarly, if you tathaiva sarvarhanam achyuteja, achyuteja means worship of Achyuta or Krishna. If you worship Krishna, then all the demigods are automatically satisfied. You do not have to satisfy the other demigods individually. But due to lack of intelligence, some yogis, they perfectly worship the demigods and they perfectly follow all the rules and regulations of that demigods and offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. So they are also approaching the Supreme Lord, but in an indirect way. They will take many lifetimes, but ultimately they have to come to the point of surrendering unto Krishna. So this is also one kind of spiritual practice people do. And what are the other practices? Shota drenindriyanyanye shamyamanyashu juhvati shabda dinvishayanyanya indriyagnishu juhvati. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis. Okay, now Krishna speaks about the practice of the brahmacharis. What they do? Sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the object of senses in the fire of the senses. So there is difference in spiritual practice of the brahmacharis and the grihasthas. Okay, so what is the duty of the brahmachari? The duty of a brahmachari is to sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control. So this is, the language is little twisted. So what is meant by this, that the duty of a brahmachari is to focus on hearing sastras. And by focusing on hearing sastras, he should control the senses in the fire of mental control. So just like ghee or the clarified butter is poured in the fire whenever we have some yajna, right? So similarly, the brahmacharis are also performing this yajna by giving oral reception to the message of the scriptures. They are doing a yajna. Okay, so this is an allegory of yajna, and we have to understand that everyone is performing yajna, but their processes may be different. Based on their consciousness, they have taken a path, but ultimately everyone has to come to the stage of surrender unto Krishna. So the brahmacharis, they should hear shastras and they should control their mind and senses. Okay, and what about the grihasthas, the regulated householders? For the grihasthas, some amount of sense enjoyment is allowed, right? Just like for the brahmacharis, they should not have any connection with any women. Okay, there is no sex life for brahmachari, but sex life is permitted in the grihastha ashram in a regulated way. And a grihastha or householder should use that to like generate offsprings, Krishna conscious offsprings. So they should bring children into this world and educate them in the sense of Krishna consciousness so that they become a perfect devotee. Then that is a successful grihastha ashram. Otherwise, even the animals are also having these four things: eating, sleeping, mating, defending. There is no difference between the animals and the humans. They are also doing the same thing, and we humans are also doing the same thing in a more sophisticated way. They are eating in the streets and we are eating in the restaurants. They are sleeping on the street. We sleep in a cozy bed. And they are also having their offsprings. We are also having. So what is the difference? The difference is dharma. Ahara nidra bhayamaithunam cha shamanam etad pashubhi naranam dharmo hitesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pashubhi shamana. So in Mahabharata it is mentioned that ahara nidra bhayamaithun, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, these are four things which are common to animals and humans. Samanam etad pashubhi naranam. Pashubhi and nara means the humans. These are same. Samanam etad. Dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesha. The speciality of human life is this dharma, that we are given this intelligence to understand who is the Supreme Lord, who am I, what is my connection with the Supreme Lord, how can I end my sufferings. The animals cannot think it. The animals are bound by the laws of nature and they are driven by their instincts. Their intelligence is not strong that they can do sense control, mind control, and question about the higher purpose of life. But we humans do have that intelligence. If we do not use that intelligence to worship the Supreme Lord, to know about the Supreme Lord, then we are as good as animals. And in the next life, we will get an animal body. Because We were given human-like intelligence, but we did not use that intelligence. So again, we will fall back to the animal life. Okay. So therefore, the different practices are mentioned. It is not that only the brahmacharis can become perfect in spiritual life. No, the grihasthas can also. We have one acharya, like many of our acharyas, they are grihasthas. Like we have Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He is the spiritual master of the spiritual master of spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, spiritual master is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. His spiritual master is Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And his spiritual master is Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur was a grihastha. He was a magistrate. And he is an acharya in our parampara. He has written so many books. And he used to live like an acharya. If you see the daily schedule of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, you'll be amazed. So, this is the daily schedule. In the night, 8 to 10 p.m., just for 2 hours, he used to rest. Then he used to wake up at 10 and then up to 4 a.m. From night 10 up to morning 4, he used to write books. Many spiritual literatures he has written. The Chaitanya Charitamrita was discovered by him, and he has given the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Because when Mahaprabhu came, after that it was lost. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur put a lot of effort to find the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his biography. And he has written many other spiritual literatures like Jaiva Dharma, etc. Then again for half an hour, he used to take rest. Then 4:30 to 7, he used to chant japa, that is 2.5 hours. So this is 24/5 round. And then 7 to 7:30, he used to do correspondence by replying the mails. And 7:30 to 9:30, again study the Sastras. 9:30 to 10, bath and prasadam. And 10 to 1 p.m., he had court duties. 1 to 2, he used to come at home and refresh. 2 to 5, again court duties. So we can see how Acharya perfectly balances the spiritual and material duties. And he is not an ordinary person. He came directly from Golaka Vrindavan. So Bhakti Vinod, there is a book called Gaur Ganodes Dipika. So the actual identity of all the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are given in that book. So this Bhakti Vinod Thakur is Kamal Manjari in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there is Radha Krishna. So Radharani is always serving Krishna. And there are 8 Sakhis, the principal Ashta Sakhis, who help Radharani in serving Krishna. Then there are Manjaris, who help the Sakhis in their service to Srimati Radharani. So these Manjaris keep on coming to this world, like Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari, Sanatan Goswami is Labanga Manjari, and Raghunath Das Goswami is Rati Manjari. Like that, different Manjaris, they are perfected souls in the spiritual world, engaged in the service of Krishna, engaged in the service of Radharani. They come to this world out of their compassion to teach us the process of devotional service. So it is not that if we are householder, we cannot perfect our life. Again, we have to take another birth and we have to become brahmachari to get liberated. No. Srila Prabhupada given a very wonderful program. Whoever follows brahmacharya or grihastha, they will go back to spiritual world. Just follow the instructions. Chanting 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, following the 4 regulatory principles. No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. And study the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, hear from Vaishnavas, worship the deity form of the Supreme Lord in home. If we do all these things, these are not impossible. Lakhs of devotees, lakhs of Grihastha devotees are doing it worldwide and they are perfecting their life. So in different ashram, your duties and your focus will be different, but both the brahmacharis are also serving Krishna and the grihasthas are also serving Krishna, and both can perfect their lives. Sarvanindriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyamya yogagno juhvati jnana deepite Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into fire of the controlled mind. So these are about the Ashtanga yogis who control the mind and senses, and they also control the life air or the prana vayu by doing pranayam. So there are 8 stages in Ashtanga yoga. In the 6th chapter, elaborately it will be explained. So Ashtanga yoga is also a method, but this is not practical for this age of Kali Yuga, because this is very, very difficult. And in Satya Yuga, people were eligible to perform this, but in Kali Yuga, this is not possible. So this is also another process, Ashtanga yogis, and some people focus on this. Dravya yajnastapo yajna yoga yajnastatha pare swadhyaya jnana yajnascha yataya samsita brata. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of 8-fold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in the transcendental knowledge. So again, there are different activities, different spiritual lives take. Some accept strict vows and follow that. Some sacrifice their possessions and give charity. So dan, yajna, tapasya, there are different. Some perform austerities, so tapasya. And some follow the 8-fold yoga of mysticism, Ashtanga yoga. Some do swadhyaya or study of the Vedas. So different people try to progress in the spiritual path in different ways. Apane jufati pranam prane pranam tatha pare pranapana gati rudva pranayama parayana apare niyatahara pranan pranesh jufati. Still others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in the trance practice by offering the movement of the outgoing breath into incoming and incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. So this is again about the pranayam, which is a limb of the Ashtanga yoga. Sarbe pyete yajna vido yajna kaspita kalmasha yajna sishta mrito bhujo yanti brahma sanatanam. All these performers who know the meaning of the sacrifice become cleansed of the sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the results of the sacrifices, they advance toward the supreme eternal atmosphere. So different persons are following these different ways, and they are taking baby steps toward the Supreme Lord. So in Gita, the Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is taking what is the approach of Krishna. Krishna is enumerating different ways you can take. But that does not mean that is the recommendation of Krishna. We will see in a few verses, Krishna does not want to recommend or force anything. Krishna will say that, okay, see, there are different ways which you can take. And the different ways have their different effects. Like if you take the path of Jnana Yoga, Krishna says in the chapter 12, Klesho adhikataras tesham abhyakta asakta chetasam. If you take that path of Jnana Yoga, it is very difficult to reach me. But still there is a path. So in Bhagavad Gita, first Krishna enumerates all the different ways. And then there are a few selective verses where Krishna gives his recommendation. Then based on your condition, I recommend this. We have already seen that in the 3rd chapter, where Krishna was discussing 2 ways, Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Krishna told that, yes, there are 2 ways, but I do not recommend the path of Jnana Yoga. I recommend you the path of Karma Yoga, because there are some pros and cons, and Krishna can understand that. So similarly, Krishna is also saying here that there are different processes, and you can take up any of the process, but most important thing is connect that with Krishna. If you want to stay as brahmachari, that is fine. Your duty is hearing. So what you should hear about Krishna. If you are householder, you have to generate children. Then how can you serve Lord? Make them Krishna conscious. So in whatever ashram, whatever varna you are in, whatever occupational duty you are performing, that is fine. There is no need to change that. but connect that and link that with Krishna. That is the message given here. Nayam lokasti ayagnasya kutonya kurushottama. The best of the Kuru dynasty means Arjuna. Without sacrifice, no one never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? So without sacrifice, we cannot live happily. And what is the meaning of yajna or sacrifice? We have discussed multiple times. The yajna does not only mean the fire sacrifices. Yajna means any activity for the pleasure of Vishnu. If you do not please Vishnu, you cannot stay happy. That is by design. That is by default. We are created in such a way that if we serve the Supreme Lord, we will be happy. Otherwise, we try million ways to become happy. That will not make us happy. Evam bahuvidha yajna vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vidditan sarvan evam yatma vimokshase. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. So there are different sacrifices approved by the Vedas. So Vedas are very all-encompassing. It has also some ways for the demons. It does not say, okay, there is only one way. And if you cannot follow that, there is only one standard. If you cannot follow that, there is no hope. Okay. If you are not at the high standard, if you are not able to follow the high standard, whatever standard you are in, we have some prescription for you to uplift you from that level. Like different people can be, some people may be in the mode of goodness, some people may be in the good mode of passion, some people may be in the mode of ignorance. But Vedas have prescription for everyone. For the mode of goodness, it is recommended that you worship Vishnu and you perfect your life. If you are in the mode of passion and ignorance, there are also some ways to uplift your consciousness. So there are prescription in every level. But there is a special path, that is Bhakti. Bhakti can be adopted by everyone. Even if someone is on the level of tamoguna, like in mode of ignorance, he can also perform Bhakti. Tada rajastamo bhavo kama lobha dayascha ye cheta etera naviddham sthitam sattve prasidati. So Bhakti is such a powerful process that it works for everyone. And this is the most powerful process. In the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna recommends Bhakti Yoga again and again, because Ashtanga Yoga is not feasible for this age. Jnana Yoga, there is very much difficulty. So therefore, Krishna again and again, you will see in Bhagavad Gita, he is either telling Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. And also there is no difference between Karma and Bhakti. I just discussed that Karma Yoga is the first stage of Bhakti Yoga, when we are doing according to our will and offering fruits to the Krishna. And gradually when we will become perfect, then it will become, I am doing the work for Krishna. Then it becomes Bhakti Yoga. So the more difficult the disease is, the stronger medicine is required. So Bhakti Yoga is the strongest medicine. Therefore, it works with everyone in every level. But if you are not able to perform Bhakti Yoga, then there are different specific prescriptions at specific levels also. So that is the nature of the Vedas. It has prescription for everyone, to uplift everyone. It's not that Vedas does not consider any person as hopeless, that there is no hope for this person. Whatever level we are in, we have some hope. We have some prescriptions in the Vedas. If you follow that, our consciousness will be evolved. Shreyan dravyamahan yagyat jnana yagya parantapa sarvam karma akhilam partha jnana parisamapyate. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. So Krishna is telling, Drabhamay Yajna is inferior to Jnanamay Yajna. The purpose of Yajna should be knowledge. That whenever we are performing some Yajna or some activity for the pleasure of Vishnu, that should be, the purpose should be that I should acquire more knowledge about Krishna and I should serve Krishna better. And what is the culmination of knowledge? That also Krishna says in the 7th chapter. Bahunam janma namante jnana vanmam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. So culmination of a jnani is to understand that Vasudeva is everything. Everything belongs to Vasudeva. All this money, property, these are not mine. Everything belongs to Vasudeva. I have come to this world. I will live for some time, and then I have to leave this body and I have to accept another body. So temporarily, I have given these properties. These things have come to me temporarily. But before I possess them, it was possessed by Krishna. And when I am possessing also, then also it is possessed by Krishna. And after I will leave, Krishna will possess them. So everything in this world is possessed by Krishna. So Vasudeva Sarvamiti, everything is Krishna's. Then what I possess Krishna. Krishna is mine and I am Krishna's. So that is the mood of a devotee. A devotee does not think that this house is mine, these properties are mine, these family members are mine. No. He understands everything as Krishna's property, and I am a servant, I am a caretaker of Krishna's property. And only Krishna belongs to me. I possess only Krishna. So that is the mood of a devotee. So therefore, Krishna is telling that some people do charity, like they give away some donations, or they do some charity of rice, dal, or some charity like giving clothes to the poor person. So this is called Drabbamai. Drabbamai yagya means sacrifice of the materials. You are giving some materials. Materials can be money, material can be some cloths or some rice grains like that. So this is good, but better than that is Drabbamai yagya. Giving some food stuff or some clothing to a person who is in need is certainly a good activity, but better than that is giving knowledge. Charity of the knowledge is better than charity of these goods. So similarly, there are different levels. So the first level is Drabbamai yagya, and higher than that is Jnanamai yagya. And the culmination of Jnana is to understand Vasudeva is everything and offering our life to Vasudeva. That is even higher. So therefore, whatever level we are in, we can take up that kind of, like a person who is an atheist. For him, even he is doing a Drabbamai yagya, it is better. Somehow the consciousness is elevated. But if someone is performing Drabbamai yagya, he should try to elevate to Jnanamai yagya. Someone doing Jnanamai yagya should try to elevate to come to Bhakti yoga and to understand that Vasudeva is everything and surrender completely unto Vasudeva. Now in the verse number 34, this is a very famous verse of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is giving a shortcut of attaining knowledge. So now, like till now, Krishna has described different yagya, different processes of pleasing Vishnu and acquiring knowledge by performance of yagya. Now Krishna is giving a shortcut and a very sure short way of gaining knowledge. You can say this is Krishna's recommendation. Previous, whatever discussed till now was the enumeration that generally people try to attain knowledge by these ways. But what then, if we ask Krishna, what is your recommendation of gaining knowledge? This is Krishna's recommendation. So while reading Bhagavad Gita, we have to carefully understand when Krishna is enumerating and when Krishna is recommending. We have to choose the recommendation of Krishna. And Krishna will not say it again and again. We have to understand. Therefore, acharyas are required to understand what is Krishna's recommendation. Because Krishna never wants to force us anything. He will subtly hint you that I prefer this, and we have to catch that hint. So just like here, Krishna is instructing Arjuna. Tad vidhi pranipatena. Previously, if you read this, you will understand. Previously, Krishna was telling, many people do like that. Many people do this. Many people follow this path. Many people follow that path. This was the style of narration. But now Krishna is telling, Arjuna, you should do this. Therefore, we have to understand this is the recommendation part and very, very important. That is, all the previous part is for knowledge, that you should have knowledge about these paths. But this is recommendation and we have to perform. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Just try to learn the truth. See, this is an imperative statement, instruction. Arjuna, please try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Now, Krishna is telling, accept a spiritual master or guru who is a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, and then you do three things. What three things? Inquire from him submissively. Ask spiritual questions. There are many doubts in our mind which are not letting us progress in spiritual life. We have to ask questions, spiritual questions. And not only asking questions, we have to render service unto them. Vaishnava Seva. Mahaprabhu also teaches this. Same Krishna comes as Mahaprabhu and teaches that Prabhu kahe Vaishnava Seva Nama Sankirtan Dui Karo Shighro Pabe Shri Krishna Charan. Prabhu kahe means the Mahaprabhu says Vaishnava Seva and Nama Sankirtan. Serve the devotees. Serving devotees means following what they say, following their instructions. And a Nama Sankirtan, chant the holy names. Follow the instruction of your Vaishnava Guru and chant the holy names. Shighra Bhabe Shri Krishna Charan, you will get Krishna very quickly. So now Krishna is telling the self-realized souls can impart you knowledge because they have seen the truth. Now, who has seen the truth? Krishna elaborates this in Bhagavad Gita 18.55. Krishna becomes more specific that who to approach for spiritual knowledge. Bhaktya mama vijanati yavanjascha smitatvata tatomam tatvato yatva vishate tadanantaram. One can understand me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So Krishna can be only understood by pure devotional service. So here in 4.34, this self-realized personality is a pure devotee. So we have to find a pure devotee who is always speaking of Krishna, very attached to Krishna, and always chanting the holy names of Krishna, speaking about Krishna, spreading the glories of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada is such a person, and Srila Prabhupada's followers are also following him. So therefore, we have to find such a pure devotee, and then we have to ask questions submissively and render service unto him. By that, we will gain the perfect knowledge. This is the perfect process for attaining knowledge. There are other processes also that Krishna mentioned, but this is Krishna's recommendation, that approach a bona fide spiritual master and ask questions to him, who is in the Guru Parampara, right? From Krishna, Krishna gave the knowledge to Brahma, Brahma gave to Narada, Narada gave to Vyasa. In that Guru Parampara, we have to understand. So if you see the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, the Guru Parampara is mentioned there. In the Veda base, you can search the Bhagavad Gita as it is, an introduction. In the last part of the introduction, you will see this Guru Parampara is given. This is Brahma Madhya Gaudiya Sampradaya. It starts with Krishna, then Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, Madhva, Padmanabha, and the whole Guru Parampara continues. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, comes into this Parampara, Rupa Sanatan Goswami, and all our Acharyas. And this is the Bhakti Vinod Thakur we just discussed about. He is also one of the Acharyas. And A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and currently his followers. So, this is a bona fide disciplic succession of self-realized Acharyas. And we have to understand the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita in this Parampara. In the 4th chapter beginning also, Krishna spoke about Parampara, right? Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajarsayo Vidho. So in the whole chapter, Krishna speaks about how to get transcendental knowledge. So first thing is choose a guru who is in the Parampara, who is self-realized, then ask spiritual question and serve the guru. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Surrender unto the Guru, ask spiritual questions, and serve him. By that, you will get perfect knowledge. And what will happen after that if you get the perfect knowledge? Now it is like Falashruti and ending of this chapter. Yajyatvana punarmoham evam yashashi pandava yena bhutanya sheshani drakshashatmant athomayim. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. All our illusion will be cleared. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, their mind. We will be able to see all the living entities in connection with the Supreme Lord. We will have equanimity in our vision. Api chedasi papebhya sarvebhyo papakrittama sarva jnana plavhenaiva vrijinam santarishashi. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. And by getting the transcendental knowledge, second thing what will happen? You will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. This world is full of misery, but a person in knowledge, for him, the knowledge will act as an umbrella. Just if there is rainfall, normal people will get wet. But if you have an umbrella, it can protect you. So similarly, their miseries will come, but this knowledge will protect you and you will not feel miserable. Jathaidhamsi samidyogni bhasma satkurute Arjuna jnanagni sarvakarmani bhasma satkurute tatha. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all the reaction of material activities. And this transcendent knowledge will destroy your karma and will make you liberated. And when we are free from karma, we don't have to suffer for the karmic reactions. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitramiha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samsiddha kale natmani vindati. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendent knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. So Krishna is saying this knowledge is the most sublime and pure thing. And knowledge means what? Knowledge means to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am a part and parcel of Krishna. And as a part, I should serve Krishna. This is the essence of all knowledge. Shraddha vallavate jnanam tatpara samyatendriya jnanam labdha param shantim achirena adhigacchati. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. So first of all, to achieve this knowledge, we have to subdue the senses. In simple terms, Srila Prabhupada gave us 4 regulative principles. If we follow the regulative principles, acquiring knowledge will be very easy. No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. Agyascha shagdadhanascha samshayatma vinashyati nayam lokasti na paro na sukham samshayatmana. But ignorant and faithless person who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness, they fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling again and again that if you do not serve the Supreme Lord, you will not become happy. But somebody may not believe that. So Krishna is telling for them, if you do not believe the scriptures, you will not get peace in this world, and after death also, there is unhappiness waiting for you. So in this world or in the next, never that soul becomes happy. So externally, it may seem that people who have a lot of money and social prestige, they externally seem happy. But if they are not serving Krishna, internally they are miserable. If you spend some time with that person, you will understand that how miserable that person is. Personally, I have seen many people, they come and share their problems to me for getting a Bhagavad Gita perspective for that problem. So until the point they share their problems, it seems like they are perfectly okay and they are the happiest person in the world. But when they share their problems, I can understand how much miserable this person is. So do not judge a book by cover, and do not think, oh, if I get money, I also can become happy like this. Nobody can become happy without serving the Supreme Lord. Everyone will become miserable if they are not serving the Supreme Lord. Only the devotees of the Supreme Lord, they are the happiest persons. And that you can experience yourself if you adopt this path. Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nivadnanti dhananjaya. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge. And for clearing the doubts, you have to ask questions. Therefore, Krishna says, Pariprashnena seva. Ask Vaishnav gurus about all the doubts you have and clarify the doubts. Then transcendental knowledge will appear. Is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound by the reactions of work, O conqueror of the reaches. So the prescription is you should read scriptures yourself and ask questions. I'm always available to you in WhatsApp or any other ways. You can ask me questions. I will try my best to answer. If some question I also do not know, I will ask my superiors. Therefore, there is a Guru Parampara. The Guru Parampara goes back to Krishna. So every question will be answered in the Guru Parampara. Do not worry. But then we have to ask. Everything has a scientific and logical explanation. Krishna consciousness is a science. This is not something faith, or it's not a blind faith that you have to accept. Therefore, worldwide, you can see many qualified persons, many PhDs, and very first-class persons there accepting the science of Krishna consciousness. So this is the last verse where Krishna says, Tasmadajnana sambhutam ritsam jnana sinatmana Chitvainam samshayam yogam atishtottishta bharata. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart, O Arjuna, out of ignorance, should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight. So, by this transcendental knowledge, clear all your doubts about dharma, and when you are absolutely clear about your dharma, you fight for the cause of establishing religion. Krishna came to this world for dharma samsthapana, and Arjuna is supposed to help Krishna. So therefore, by clearing the doubts, Krishna is telling Arjuna he should fight. And thus ends the chapter 4. Now in the chapter 5, we will again see Arjuna is having some doubts. Arjuna is following Krishna's words. Whenever there is some doubt, Arjuna is asking Krishna. And Krishna will clarify Arjuna's further doubts in chapter 5. We will see that in the next class. Okay, so I hope that was clear. And is there any questions? Sounds good. Then we'll again meet next week, same time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.